So today we're going to be talking about changing the oven range fan hood in the vent. You normally do this when you buy a new stove or oven. I replaced this one. This one was old and decrepit. But the main thing we're going to focus on again is the fan that sits above here. We bought a super duper high powered fan that's easy to clean and also keeps the garlic fumes out of the house. But first we're going to talk about why should you replace your old fan. You see, this is just like a $39.99 special at Home Depot. And over the years it gets pretty greasy and dirty. It's a fire hazard and it doesn't work very good. The fan is weak, it's filthy, it's dirty. I mean, it's self-explanatory why we need to change this thing. Now, if you can afford it, today our discussion is again about a super duper high powered fan that will keep the garlic fumes out of your house, and it's got two fans. And the first thing you got to do is take the old one out. So the old one has 4 screws at the bottom. You see there's 2 on that side and there's 2 on the other side. So all you have to do is undo those screws. You don't even have to really undo them all the way. You loosen them, pull the fan forward, and the fan should just slip down. You see the big hole there. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the old one. Pretty self-explanatory. Loosen the 4 bolts, take it out. Now you have to unplug it. And we're also going to change this vent. Now the reason why you change this vent, again, pretty simple. It's greasy and dirty and it's a fire hazard. So I believe this is a 8-inch vent, and our new fan has a 6-inch vent. And I'm going to show you how to do all this. If you don't want to pay a plumber to do all this, this is what this video is about today. I'm going to show you how to do it. Are we going to be jerry-rigging some of the parts? Sure. We're gonna make it fit, because you see these cabinets are kind of cheap also, and the hole is not going to match. You see the hole right there? It's not going to perfectly match our new fan. So yes, we're going to get this done without hiring anybody. And if that's what you're here for today, let's get started. So taking it out was not that difficult, was it? Then you have to clean up. As you can see, we've taken the old stove out, put a new oven range in. We've cleaned up, tried to get as much grease out of there as possible. Now you have to do some measurements. You got to make sure your cabinet's, big enough to put in there. I guess there are some cabinets that are not big enough. Now this cabinet, as you can see, our holes are not going to match up. I'll tell you that right now. More than likely, the screws that hold the old fan in is probably not going to match up with your new fan. But I double checked to make sure. So we'll take these out, we'll drill some new holes. Let me clarify, if you're going to buy the same type of cheap $39.99 fan down at Home Depot, just leave those screws in there. But they're just 4 screws. We take them out because, again, we'll have to remeasure for the new fan. So I took those out. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, let me show you the old vent, because in this video we're going to be changing the vent. Because, as I said earlier, it's a fire hazard. It's dirty, it's greasy, and plus it's the wrong size. Our new fan, our new PACAIR fan, is a 6-inch vent. This one's 8-inch. So I'll just show it to you. This is the old dirty one. I'll just show it to you real quickly, and I'll show you how to take it out. Again, this was kind of jerry-rigged in there also. So it was duct taped in. So all I got, and maybe yours will be duct taped too, I don't know. So on this one, I just cut the duct tape, take it out. I'm going to reuse that elbow there, the elbow right above the knife there. That's in pretty good shape, the elbow. It's heavy duty. We'll use it. And so I'll just show you how I took this off, and then we'll go on to something else here. You could use a razor blade. So what else we have here? Okay, you're probably going to need a little step stool. And okay, I'll show you. Now you got it off there. Like I said, I'm going to reuse this elbow. This takes the air. This takes the hot air and the fume from the stove and just takes it out of the side of the house. So again, take all this stuff outside, clean it up, this hole here is not big enough. So now we're going to go on to the fan. This is our new fan. I'm going to show you how to put this baby in there. It's a heavy duty one, double fan, dual fan, has drip pans for the grease. So you peel this off. I'll have a unboxing video too. If you want to see me strictly unboxing the PACAIR fan, super duper fan, go to my unboxing, but we'll try to make this quick. You take this off. Now the reason why I like this fan is as I take this plastic off of here, this metal part underneath there is removable. Yes, I'm going to show you that later. This flat metal there on the bottom of the fan is removable. You can take that out real easy, clean it, because grease, you saw the old one. That grease is going to build up. Okay, let's carry on. There's going to be a lot of preparation. Well, not a lot, but there's going to be a little bit of preparation, and you have to know what you're getting into. So before we can put the new fan in, this is what we have to do. We have to hook up the power cord. First, we take off the bottom here. Remember, I said this bottom is easy to remove, to clean. So all it is 2 screws. Now, remember, you can do this when the fan is installed, and after 4 or 5 months and it's dirty. All you got to do is take these screws out. The bottom plate slips out, and there it is. Really easy to take out in the backyard and clean all that grease off of there. Watch how we do this. It's just going to pop out. Here we go. See? That part just slides in there. The 2 screws hold it in there, and the screws are really heavy duty. I'm really impressed. Now here's the inner workings of the fan. It's a double fan. That's the box. That's the junction box over there. We're going to have to take that apart and hook up the wire. So you take that screw out there, and it's just 1 screw holds the cover plate in for the junction box, and they got 3 wires here. They're color coded. Pretty simple. You can do this. All you have to do, because when they send you the fan, you make sure they send you the power cord with it. You make sure you ask them for the power cord. So you put the power cord, they send it to you. You put the power cord in there. And then all I have to do is hook up the green to the green, the black to the black, and the white to the white. That's all you have to do. Not that difficult. And those connections stay in the junction box inside there. So after I've fed the cord through there, this may be longer than most people want, but I have to show this. This is part. So you can see I've hooked up the black to the black. I've hooked up the green to the green, and now I'll go ahead and show you. Now they give you these little wire tighteners. So I'll just show you how you do this. It's kind of hard to hold the camera, of course, and do this, but I will. So on this one, I'll show you how I did the white one. The green and the black are done. So all you do is you put the 2 whites together, and you use your fingers, you twist them around, and then they give you 3 wire twisters. You twist it on there, and then you should use electrical tape. This is one thing I got to tell you. Use electrical tape to tape up. But you see I'm using duct tape there. It's better to use, again, electrical tape. And for most electricians out there, this is simple. But what I'm trying to do here is for somebody who's never done this before, I'm just trying to give you the confidence. You can do it. You can do it. My videos are going to be long and lengthy, but I am doing this just in case there's somebody out there who cannot afford to get a plumber and they want to do it themselves, or even an electrician. You might get a plumber and then the electrician will say, well, you need an electrician to hook up these 3 wires. I don't know, but we're going to do it ourselves. So there you have it. All the wires are connected. We put the junction box cover back on there. Again, use electrical tape. I must say that for the second time. Use electrical tape, put the wires back in the junction box, close it up, and I'll show you how I did that. And then that part's done. So what else we have to do? So once we get the wires hooked up, pretty simple, then we have to measure the holes. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen. The hole for your old cheap fan from Home Depot, that hole's not going to match up with this new super duper one. Not going to happen. I was hoping it would, but it didn't. So now the next part is we're going to measure our holes, and find out where you're going to put the screws. And again, this part here I'm just going to show you, make sure, I don't want to skip anything. This is very important. Make sure you put this junction cover back on here. I mean, those are live wires in there. I mean, they're not live, they're covered up with tape, and they got the caps on them, but you want that cover on there. So make sure you put the cover on there. You don't want any loose wires hanging out once you put it all together. So you see it's all nice and tight and everything's back in there. That's the way it should look. Please, no wires hanging out. That's not the way we do things around here. So let's see where we're going here next. All right, I must say this. I probably made this video way too long, and I took too much footage, and I admit that. It's really not that difficult. All we're really doing here is hooking up the 3 wires, and then you have to mark on the wood cabinets the marks for the screws. That really is it. But we're going to take it slow, and I'm going to use all the footage I took. And, who knows, it might be helpful, it may not. But that's a disclaimer. I've made this video a little longer than it should. Now, right now, we're putting that panel back in. I'm showing you how easy to put that panel back in. You slip it in, and then there's 2 screws that hold it in place. And the beautiful part of this is, I think I've already said it, is once you get your fan in place, and it gets dirty, very simple to take these 2 screws out, remove the panel, take it outside, clean it. That's how it was designed. So I'm just going to show you how I did it. Now these screws are very well made screws. I'm going to tell you this. This is a $500 fan, very well made, good quality. It's not like that stuff you're going to buy in Home Depot. I've said that 1,000 times also. This is a good quality fan. And they actually make some that are even more expensive. This is probably the entry level when it comes to these type of fans. I ordered it online, and believe it or not, they shipped it right to my front door, and you're watching me put it together. So like I said, this may be a very long video, but it's not. The hardest part is getting these screws lined up. You've got to put the screws in the cabinet. You see the holes there, and they have to line up. And also, what I found, I had a problem, is you see the hole there for the vent. My hole did not match up for the vent. See the vent there, the hole? And I had to make my hole bigger, which made my cabinet weaker, so I had to reinforce the cabinet. Now these are the problems you could run into. Beautiful thing about this fan, again, is they got these little oil drip pans. I can show you a tip later where I fold up a napkin and put it in there. That's how the Asians do it. They fold up a napkin, and once that napkin gets oily and greasy, you throw it away, and then you keep your little drip pans clean. So here we go. Now, like I said, one of the hardest parts is measuring your holes. So I'm just going to show you how I did it. Measure it up, write it down on paper, and then you got to go over to the cabinet. Now, here's something, maybe a tip. I did not put all 4 screws in at the same time. I think I put in 2 on one side. So I put the 2 on one side, which was easy for me, and then I would take the fan over there by the counter, and I would put it up there, and then when I had the fan in place, I was able to use my pencil and use the pencil through the side that I did not have the screws. I used my pencil to make a mark, and then I took the fan back out, and then the pencil marks made it more accurate for me. I don't know if I explained that well enough. I may show you a picture of it. So here's the screws we're going to use to hold it in place. And this is not really that difficult. I mean, it's nice to have 2 people doing it. Maybe one person to hold the fan for you. When you put it in place, you have somebody holding the fan. I also recommend that you do not have the stove in place. Now, I had to move the stove out. We had the new stove in there. Luckily, the gas line, I was able to pull out the stove and give me some room to work in there. Of course, you have to have the right size screws too, don't you? You have to have the right size screws. So once you measure them, now you see that screw up there, that's where the old spot was. Now I have to move it. I took the old screws out. I'm going to put the new screws in. I know this is probably very, very boring. I'm probably killing you. At this point, I'm killing you. I should have cut this section out of the video. I'm sorry. I apologize. But we're going to. You see how you mark in the cabinet. You mark your spots for your screws. Put them up there. And it's a do-it-yourself project. So, I don't know if I showed this. I'll briefly show it. You got to measure the distance between your holes at the fan. I mean, you have to go through all this. You see how I'm doing? Once you make all your measurements, it's helpful. The way I cheated was I only put 2 screws up in the cabinets first, and then I held the cabinet up there, and I think I said it already, marking down your measurements. And okay, coming up, I ran into a problem. When I wired it up, I had the wires coming out of the bottom of the fan, which was not good for me. So I had to change the wires. For example, you see how the wires are coming, that's coming from the top of the fan. Okay, yeah, the electrical wire is coming through the top of the fan, but I could not cut a hole there. So I had to change it. You see the hole in the back? So I had to change it from the wire on the top and change it to the wire going out the back. So you have to, that's something to think about. Once you get your fan, make sure that you're able to cut a hole in the cabinet right where that wire is if you want the wire to come up through the top. If you're not able to cut a hole through your cabinet, then you have to go through the back. So I went through the back, and then that created another problem. I had to cut a hole in the wall. I had to, in the, okay, see right here? So now my wire is going to go out the back. Instead, I could not cut there because that was a bad spot in the cabinet. They had a screw in there, whatever reason, I could not cut a hole there. So now I put the wire through the back of the fan, and where you see that pencil mark on the wall, that's where I have to cut that out. Because remember, you want your fan to be flush against the wall, and if your wire is coming out the back, the wire is going to prevent the fan from being flush against the wall. So that's why you'll have to cut that out. These are little things. That's probably why I'm making this video. It's these little things like this that you get prepared for. Makes the job easier for you, huh? I think so. So as you see, I changed it. I put the wire through the back, and I would use duct tape there when it's coming, because it did not have a plastic washer in there, so I would use a little bit of duct tape to protect your wires. So the little details. So now we got the wires in the right place. And it's about time to, I'm going to show you this power. Okay, this is where when these fans spin, they suck up the oil and the grease. Okay, and then I show you where it goes over to the drip pan, and it drips into the drip pan. So they're well-made fans. I guess I'm showing you here with my pencil how when the fans turn, they suck up that grease and oil, but then it falls back into the drip pan. Well engineered. I will say that these fans made in Taiwan are very well engineered. Very good fans. That's why we're doing this video. I recommend that you get one of these fans. Yeah, you don't have to go to Home Depot. Okay, so now we're going to go to the vents. The one on the right is the dirty one. One on the left is the one we're going to use. Now you're going to use the one on the left there, the new one, they do not give that to you. You're going to have to go to Home Depot and get this 6-inch vent. You'll throw away, if your old fan has an 8-inch vent, you'll throw that away. See how dirty? cruddy it is. And okay, so they don't give you the vent, but they give you this little adapter. It's PACAIR. See that little adapter, plastic adapter? Now that's going to fit on the top. Yeah, that's going to fit on the top there. And you may not need. I don't think I may have used that. I'm not sure. We'll get to that later. But this part fits on there very snugly, very snug. That goes in there. They include this. This plastic adapter part is included, and then you buy this vent at Home Depot. Fits in there real snugly. And then I did use that clamp. I did use that O clamp. I didn't really need it. I don't think you really need those O clamps, but I put it on there anyhow, and then I used duct tape. So I'm going to show you. These are all the things you have to do once you get the fan in place. Vent goes in there. 6-inch, again, 6-inch vent. The adapter comes with it. And of course, this is the old elbow that's going to be at the top. Now we're going to have to, this is where we do the jerry rigging, because that elbow is 8 inches at the top. So we're going to have to use duct tape, or actually we're going to use vent tape. We'll get to that part. That's how it's going to look. That's how it's going to look in the cabinet. So where are we? Okay, as you can see, I brought the stove out. And now I ran into another problem because my hole up there would not. Okay. Yeah, I'm just showing you here how you can, where the screws are. These are the 4 screws. The fan is held in place by 4 screws. And you really can't see it, but the main opening at the top of the fan there, like I said, I had to make my hole in my cabinet bigger. And of course, the cabinet was weaker, so I had to reinforce the cabinet. Now this is a problem you may run into. You might say, hey, if I make that hole bigger for the vent, if I make that hole bigger, my cabinet could fall apart. A big danger. You don't want your cabinet to fall apart. This is a heavy fan, so I had to reinforce. If you have to cut too much of your bottom of your cabinet, you're cutting the hole's too big, and you'll have to reinforce your cabinet because you don't want to put this. So there's the reinforcements. I'm going to show you. See how I put these reinforcements in? You can see the one in the back and one in the front. So that's how I jerry rig it. If your hole is cut too big and you're afraid that the cabinet has been weakened, please reinforcement. Reinforce it because you don't want that fan to come down. I think I'm showing here. Here I'm going to show you. This is where I had to cut the extra part out. You see? See, once I cut that extra part out, then I added this reinforcement. You can do this. Sure you can. And I kind of got, sometimes you get frustrated. The hole's too big. Oh, you get scared. The cabinet's going to fall apart. Hey, use your brain. I can modify. I can reinforce. You can do it. Especially if you're living out there in the woods somewhere. If you're living on the farm. You got to get that duct tape out, and you got to get the baling wire and the duct tape, and you got to make it work, right? Remember those? Some of you guys will remember those days. Out in the farm, duct tape and wire, baling wire. Hey, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but I will. This is probably important because you're going to have maybe you're going to have to reinforce your cabinet if you cut your hole too big. Am I rambling on too much? I think I am. Okay, so you see my wire. You see how I'm not sure if I showed where I cut the wall in the wall there. I had to cut it out to make the wire so the fan would go flush against the wall. Okay. So where are we at now? Oh, here's another thing. Now these brackets come with it. I put 2 brackets, one on each side, and I believe that's going to help hold it up. Now, some people might say you don't need them. I put them in there anyhow. It was very nice. They included these brackets in, and I used them. I thought that was a nice added touch. Because this fan's a little heavier than your standard run-of-the-mill Chinese junk you buy at Home Depot. So I put these 2 brackets in there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to help a little bit. Help hold up the load. As you can see, these cabinets are pretty cheap. After 30 years, they start melting. The heat from the oven starts to melt the cheap cabinets. That's why I always recommend, if you're going to buy the cabinets, buy solid wood cabinets, because you can see what happens there on the cheap cabinets after 20 years. Okay, we're about done here, I think, aren't we? So you see the plastic adapter there? Got the plastic adapter on. Now all we're going to do is, see the plastic adapter? There it is. Now we're going to put the vent in, and I am going to use the O-ring. Even though I don't believe I need it, I'm going to use it anyhow. They do not, the fan company does not send you this O-ring, this O-clamp. I bought it at Home Depot, and I think it's a nice added touch. So I put the vent in there, tighten up the O-clamp, and then I'm actually going to use some tape, I believe, also, if I remember. So let's go ahead and do it. Now I got to force it in there. Make sure you force it in there good. Now I bought an adapter also. I think, no, I didn't use the adapter. I bought this adapter, but I did not use it. Just to tell you, you might end up thinking you're going to need the adapter like I did, but I decided not to go with the adapter. I'm just going to use the tape and tape it in there. So I got it in there. I tighten that down. And the reason why I say you might not need this clamp is because it fit in there so tightly. And there's not the air. I don't think it's going anywhere, to be honest with you. It's up to you whether you want to use that clamp or not. Especially because if you put that in there and then you wrap the tape around it, it's not going anywhere. See, you're going to wrap the tape around there anywhere. Believe me, the vent's not going anywhere. It's jammed in there. That's the from the tape. Okay, you see where I used the tape there? Now I'm all done. So I taped it on the bottom. I taped it on the top. Hey, look. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I think it turned out good. Yeah, hey, I'm going to pat myself on the back here. Yeah, nice and pretty. You know, I'm sure there's some carpenters out there right now. Some carpenters cringing, but hey, for a do-it-yourself amateur, this is about as good as it gets, in my opinion. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. And I also had to tape up there too. So make sure you tape. This is a special tape for vents. You get it to Home Depot. Make sure wherever the connections are, you tape it up. That's going to prevent any air from leaking out. So that's the way it should look. I'm going to show you. This is the way it should look right here. And as you can see, I had to modify and jerry-rig a bunch of stuff. Push the stove back in there, plug it in, and we're about ready to test it. No, I'm mistaken. First, before we test it, we got to put the drip pans in, and also that panel there. See the bottom panel? See, when you're putting this all in, when you're putting the fan in with the screws, this flat panel bar, this is out of there. This is not in there. So now I'm going to show you how easy it is to slip this in. I guess you call it the bottom cover plate. We'll call it the bottom cover plate. So it just slips in to the back. I'll show it to you there. You slip it, just slides in. There's no screws in the back. You slide it into place. You'll know if it's right. And then once you slide it into place, then in the front you got 2 screws to hold it in place. I think I've already showed you that. But it's right there. There's the 2 screws right there. You see those 2 screws? Tighten those in. Now the good thing about this fan is when, like I said, you take that bottom cover plate off, it's easy to clean. Now all we're going to do is put the drip pans in the back, those little 2 plastic drip pans right here. And remember, I said I was going to show you a trick. So here they are. All we're going to do is fold up some napkins and put them in there before we slide these in place. These just slide in place real easily. No screws necessary. They just slide right in. So here you go. Just take a napkin, some sort of triangle, right? Fold it into a triangle. Put it in there. Now, people might make fun of, when I'm making this video, it seems like my hands are not coordinated. You got to realize that I'm holding the camera while I'm doing this. I know it's, try it at home. Try to hold a camera and do this stuff at the same time. Trust me, it's not as easy as it looks. But anyhow, once you get the napkin in there, these slide right into place. I don't know about you, but a lot of the Chinese cooks, they use a lot of grease and high flames. The secret to Chinese cooking is a high heat. That's why the Chinese like a gas stove, because they can get the heat up there faster, quicker. And when you're dealing with high heat and grease, that's why the Chinese love these fans, because they're very, very efficient. Okay, so we got the drip pans in place. We've got the cover in place. We're just about done. Now we're going to test it. Hey, I apologize if this video was a little long, but if it's a do-it-yourself, maybe you picked up a tip or two that's going to help, and I guess it was well worth the time, or I hope so.